Look at this microscopic pathogen multiplying. When discussing everyday health, saying someone caught a cold communicates the basic idea. But in a high-consequence outbreak, that phrasing lacks the precision needed to track specific physical contact and the resulting biological risk. Professional medical analysis requires a more rigorous lexicon. We are upgrading your vocabulary to the C1 academic standard by mastering 4 specific terminology clusters, beginning with their Latin roots and historical origins. This lesson concludes with a high-speed shadowing exercise to test your retention. Find a quiet space where you can speak out loud and prepare to focus on the rhythmic structure of advanced English. Look at these health workers in full hazmat gear. In environments where an imprecise word can lead to a containment failure, clinical terminology is the primary tool for projecting authority and ensuring safety. We start with the moment of exposure. The C1 term for becoming ill with a disease is contract, pronounced contract. It stems from the Latin contractus, meaning to pull together, describing how a subject draws a pathogen towards themselves. But do not confuse contract with acquire. While a patient contracts a virus through physical contact, they acquire something gained over time, such as acquiring immunity through a series of vaccinations. If the body's immune system is strong enough to block that pathogen from entering at the outset, it successfully wards off the potential infection. Once a pathogen breaches those initial defenses, the process becomes more aggressive. The virus executes a hijack. This term originated in early 20th century American slang for the illegal seizure of goods, which accurately describes the virus's next move. This diagram illustrates the biological sequence for this takeover. The pathogen invades specific cells to begin replication. It exploits the cell's metabolic machinery, forcing the translation of proteins and replication of its genome to create components for a complete assembly. This is an unauthorized seizure, which is why we say hijack. If a government seized these resources for official use, they would commandeer them. However, once the virus integrates into the host, it does not voluntarily relinquish control. By utilizing terms like contract and hijack, you move away from describing infection as a passive event. You are now characterizing it as a strategic and aggressive biological invasion. Public understanding of an invasion is often clouded by misconception. This word combines the prefix mis, meaning wrong, with the concept itself, such as the persistent idea that the Ebola virus is airborne. While a misconception is a simple error in understanding, a fallacy is more deeply rooted. It is a mistaken belief based on an unsound logical argument, such as the claim that antibiotics can cure viral infections. Correcting these errors is the primary goal of public health education. By replacing rumor with evidence, communities reach an informed understanding, allowing for coordinated response. That informed perspective is critical when tracking an outbreak over time. When a disease returns after a period of little activity, it undergoes a resurgence. Its Latin root, surgere, means to rise again. This chart shows the outbreak cycle. The pathogen remains in a state of dormancy, a quiet and active period, before it suddenly spikes into an active resurgence. Here is an X-ray showing the clinical reality of a flare-up. While a resurgence can be general, the strictly negative term for a new outbreak of a disease like tuberculosis is a recrudescence. Distinguishing between macro-level public narratives and these specific clinical cycles allows professionals to communicate exact severity without triggering unnecessary panic. We will now apply this vocabulary to a professional case study, using a script on Ebola pathology. Look at the text. We are using a technique called silent shadowing. The slash marks divide the sentence into meaning chunks. Pausing at these breaks allows your brain to process the logic of the sentence rather than just individual words. Read this silently with me. What makes Ebola so feared is that it targets several different cell types. Use those pauses to lock in the logical structure. Now use that same syntax for a different topic. You have 3 seconds to explain why global warming is feared using the "what makes X feared is" framework. Internalizing these specific syntactic rhythms allows you to speak with authority. By following the structure, the correct C1 vocabulary becomes a natural extension of the logic. The exercise you just completed required more than simple translation. You processed a complex biological sequence and repurposed its logical framework for an entirely different global challenge. You have moved from simple descriptions of getting sick to accurately detailing disease contraction, cellular hijacking, public misconceptions, and clinical resurgence. To test your recall, go to the comments now. Write one original sentence using a target collocation from today, such as contract a virus or ward off an infection. Navigating a global crisis requires more than just effort. It requires the precision to describe the problem exactly as it is. High-level vocabulary is your most effective tool for that task.